This is the review video for students who requested help on photosynthesis and cell respiration. Remember, you've got one day until the EOC. Alright, so we're going to start talking about photosynthesis first. Photo means light. Alright, synthesis means to put together or to synthesize. Okay, so we're going to be using light energy to put things together. Right? To be more specific, photosynthesis requires certain things. In chemistry, we talk a lot about ingredients, but in biology, we call them inputs. Right? You're putting something into the system. It's called an input. Right? Basically, this is, what does your potted plant need to grow really well? For example, it needs water, it needs carbon dioxide, and it needs light. All right, so there are three inputs for photosynthesis. The outputs, or what your plant makes as a result of photosynthesis, are oxygen and glucose. Glucose has a chemical formula, C6H12O6, and you'll frequently see this represented with a hexagon shape, glucose, because it represents the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons that form a ring to form glucose. Okay? So this is what the plant needs in order to do photosynthesis. This is what the plant produces at the end of photosynthesis. Okay? Because we're chemists, we know how to balance this chemical equation. Right? So if I put these as my reactants, water and carbon dioxide, let me write light as something necessary for this to keep going. We're going to be producing oxygen and glucose, C6H12O6. Right? But as I said, because we're chemists, we know that this should be balanced. So I have 6 carbons here. Let me show that I have 6 carbons there. I have 12 hydrogens here, so I need to put a 6 here. All right, and once you balance it all, you should see that you have 6 water molecules are required and 6 carbon dioxide molecules are required in order to make 6 oxygen molecules and just 1 molecule of glucose, okay? But this is the chemical reaction, RXN reaction, for photosynthesis. Okay? So once you have this, you need to understand, right, where on the plant this all fits together. Right? So a typical EOC question would ask, where does photosynthesis happen? Okay? So the location of photosynthesis is in a particular organelle, kind of like an organ in the plant. Here's a leaf. This is the underside of the leaf. Let me zoom in on a single leaf cell. Inside of this leaf cell, you have these green organs. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so inside your plant cell, you should have green discs floating around. These green discs are called chloroplasts. This is a chloroplast. This is a chloroplast. This is a chloroplast. That's spelled CHLOROPLAST, chloroplast. This is where photosynthesis happens. Where photosynthesis happens. Okay? Inside of the chloroplast, you have a green pigment, kind of like a green dye, called chlorophyll. chlorophyll fills up the chloroplasts. Let me spell out chlorophyll for you. Chlorophyll, P-H-Y-L-L. And this pigment is very special because it can absorb and capture light energy. Capture light energy. All right, the chlorophyll is inside in the chloroplast, right? So this is how the chloroplast is able to capture light energy, because there's this pigment, chlorophyll, inside of it that is able to absorb and capture the light energy, okay? So that is how we get the light. Check. I've got light on my input list. Now I need to worry about getting these two other things, right? Let's talk about water, because water is kind of a simple story. All right, so we all know that this should have a stem, okay, and then at the bottom of my stem in the dirt, I've got some roots. These are my beautiful roots, okay? Let me label it roots. So your plant, right, rain goes from the sky into the dirt. The roots are able to suck up water up through the stem, through a specialized tissue called the xylem. Right? Plants don't have a heart, plants don't use blood, they don't pump around blood in their body, but they do have a special tissue called xylem, which allows them to transport water throughout the plant. So xylem is used to transport water, right, water droplets, up through the stem, for example, through the veins of the leaf, and out to every single cell. And that's how I get water to the chloroplast. Water. Because we know that water is required in that chemical reaction for photosynthesis. So I need to get it to the chloroplasts where photosynthesis occurs. Okay, so water. I've got that. Check. All right, the last thing then is carbon dioxide. And that's why I tried to be clever and drawn the bottom of my leaf so it's kind of turned up towards you. Because at the bottom of your leaf, bottom of your leaf, you have these pores, and they kind of look like little mouths, and they can open and close and open and close. All right, so let me zoom in at the bottom of my leaf. At the bottom of my leaf are these pores. They look like little mouths. Okay, and there's a little hole in the middle of it. And this special pore is called a stomata. Stomata. S-T-O-M-A-T-A. And the stomata is literally like a little tiny doorway for gases to go in and out of. So this is how carbon dioxide from the air can go into this hole, all right, and into the cell, where once again it goes to the chloroplast. So now I've got carbon dioxide going there as well. Okay, so carbon dioxide enters through the stomata, makes its way to the chloroplasts where photosynthesis happens. Okay? You can also imagine, sorry, check mark. Boom, I've got my CO2. You can imagine that this little doorway might be useful for letting oxygen out of as the end product of photosynthesis. And you're absolutely correct. Right? Oxygen, once it's produced here, can later leave out through the exact same way. Right, so if you had a lot of time and a lot of nail polish on your hand, you could wipe out the human race and all life on Earth probably by coating the bottoms of leaves with nail polish, but that would just take too long, and that would be kind of stupid because you'd die too. Right, but oxygen, right, comes out through these pores, right, and this is how we get oxygen in the atmosphere, and this is how the plants continue to do photosynthesis by letting carbon dioxide in. Okay, so we've talked about the inputs and the outputs. I've shown you how all the inputs get to the chloroplast where photosynthesis happens. right? It's about time that we talk about light, right, and what light actually does. So let me get rid of this and all of this. Okay, so here's the sun. I have no yellow, so I will draw a red sun. Okay, and the sun releases light energy. Let's see if I can get a better marker. Light energy. Okay, and your plant is able to capture that light energy with the chlorophyll, right, that special pigment. And then what this is actually used for is actually breaking bonds, right? Bonds contain energy, and it's actually hard for you to break them apart. And sometimes it requires an input of energy to do that. So here's my water molecule. I've got my hydrogens, my oxygen. Remember, this is an input for photosynthesis. And here's my carbon dioxide. 2 carbons, 1 oxygen, carbon dioxide. And they're all made of bonds, right? Technically, if I weren't so lazy, I should draw 6 of these, right? Because the chemical reaction said there were 6 of these, and there were 6 of these. All right? But I'm too lazy. Right? So the light energy is actually going to be used by the plant to break apart these bonds. Break, 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 break. Break bonds. So once you've done that, you should have now a bunch of atoms that are just kind of free to go around. You should have a carbon atom. Technically, you should have, right, 6 carbon atoms. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, good, I can count. 6 carbon atoms. You should have 12 hydrogen atoms. Ooh, that's going to be hard for me to draw. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 hydrogen atoms, right? And you should have 6 oxygen atoms. But you get the point. Basically, right, I've got the building materials I now need to rearrange to form glucose, right? C6H12O6. Right? So once I've got all my atoms broken apart, I can rearrange them to form new chemical compounds. In this case, I'm forming glucose and some oxygen, 6 oxygens. Okay? So that is the role of light energy. Light energy provides the energy, right, to break the bonds between my starting materials, right? Because I had water that was all bonded together, carbon dioxide that was all bonded together. You need to use that light energy to break them apart. You're going to typically see this reaction, photosynthesis, described using the following terms. An energy transformation, right, from light energy, that would be this guy up here, sun, to chemical energy. All right, and the reason why it's called chemical energy is because once you have formed glucose, this is a simple version of glucose, but really glucose should have a lot more bonds than this. It should have bonds here, 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 here. Okay, these are all chemical bonds. There's lots of them in glucose. Right? Each of these chemical bonds contains energy. Right? Chem bonds contain energy. All right, so you took light energy, right, and you created chemical energy. This is what your plant uses to stay alive, right? A lot of students think that plants eat light energy. That's not correct, actually. Plants use light energy to create chemical energy. And then this is what you eat. Nom, nom, nom. Nom, nom, nom. Right? Chemical energy is what animals and plants use to stay alive, right? Chemical energy is what they use as food. Okay, this is food. Food. Yum. I like food. All right. That's about it for photosynthesis. I want to move on to cellular respiration, but before I do so, I want you to take a second and see if you can fill out on your own what the inputs and outputs are for photosynthesis, right? So what I mean by that is, I want you to tell me for photosynthesis, what are the inputs? There should be 1, 2, 3 inputs. And what are the outputs? There should be 1, 2 of them. Okay? So I'm actually not going to tell you what these are, but you need to be able to fill that in. Okay? So pause the video, rewind it if you need to, right? But you need to fill that out. Okay. I'm assuming you've done that now. If not, pause it, unpause it when you have that filled out. Okay. So I'm assuming you have this all filled out now. Right? Your inputs, you should see that you needed water, you needed carbon dioxide, and you needed light, energy. The outputs were you made oxygen and you made glucose. C6H12O6. Okay? And the reason why I want you to write this out is because you need to see that for the next process that we're talking about, called cellular respiration, you need to understand that the inputs and outputs are kind of reversed for cellular respiration. Okay? So cellular respiration, the whole point, right? What is the point of cellular respiration? The whole point is to take the chemical energy in food, all right? We're going to use glucose as an example today. Take the chemical energy in food and convert it to an easy access form of chemical energy called ATP. This is very important, muy importante for you to understand ATP. Right, we're going to talk about it a lot in a second. Right, so this is the point. You're going to take chemical energy in your food, like glucose, and you're going to convert it to an easy access form of chemical energy called ATP. For example, this would be like if I gave you 300 pennies and I was like, here, go buy yourself a snack. You might get kind of pissed at me. You'd be like, Miss Mark, that's stupid, right? Just give me $3. I'd be like, oh, yeah, you've got a good point, right? So you're taking chemical energy, pennies, and you're converting it to an easy access or easy to use form of energy or currency, right? Like the dollar, for example, and that would be your dollars. Okay, so you're taking one form of energy and you're converting it to a very similar form, but it's more practical and easier for your cell to use, right? So we don't want to be paying in terms of 300 pennies, we want to pay in terms of, right, $3. That is the point of cellular respiration, but we need to talk about the inputs and outputs. Here's the big star. I don't know where I can write the big star. Big star. It's like reverse photosynthesis. Once we write this out, you're going to see that it looks just like photosynthesis, but backwards. Okay? So the inputs for cellular respiration, the inputs are going to be oxygen and glucose. The outputs are going to be carbon dioxide, water, and most importantly, star, 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 ATP, okay? So, let me erase this. Take some notes down while you can. Pause it or whatever. Let me erase this. Because I want to show you how they are like reverses of each other. So the chemical formula for cell respiration, the reaction looks a little bit like this. You need 6 oxygen molecules, 1 carbon molecule, 1 glucose molecule, and you're going to produce 6 waters and 6 carbon dioxides and some ATP. I hope you see how this is the reverse of the photosynthesis chemical reaction. If you're not so sure, please rewind and find the reaction, right? Notice how instead of light energy as an input, we have ATP as an output, okay? Just like photosynthesis had a particular place or organelle where this happened, right? Inside my human, here's a human. All right, humans are made out of cells. Maybe there's a cell on his arm. Inside of the cell, there's a particular organelle called the mitochondria. It looks like this. Let me draw 3 of them here. Mitochondria. Mitochondria. This is where cellular respiration happens. Where cellular respiration happens. Okay? So, just like in photosynthesis, you had to get all the inputs inside the cell. Oxygen and glucose, right? Glucose is going to go from your gut and your intestine system through your blood to your mitochondria. Oxygen is going to go through your mouth. There's the mouth. Oh, God. There's the mouth. Oxygen is going to go through the mouth to the lungs, to your heart, and get pumped to the mitochondria as well. So you've got oxygen and you've got glucose going to the mitochondria. From leaving the mitochondria, you should have carbon dioxide leaving. Same thing, goes through the blood to your lungs, finally outside the mouth. Carbon dioxide is leaving. Water can go in your blood and stay there, or it might go out through your lungs as evaporated water vapor. And finally, ATP. Big star there. All right. ATP is a really complex molecule. We don't want to draw it. But you can draw a simplified version with an adenosine with 3 phosphates attached to it. Adenosine triphosphate means adenosine 3 phosphates. This is ATP. Now, what's so special about ATP? Why do we go through all this work to make ATP? Well, each of these 3 bonds here is considered a very high energy bond. Right? These bonds contain an incredible amount of energy. Right? Energy that you can use to walk down the street, pick up your pencil, play Xbox, or more importantly, stay warm, breathe, have a heart that beats. Okay? All of those processes require energy. Right? And your cell uses ATP because it's very easy to access. Easy to access. These bonds are pretty unstable, so they're very easy to break. When you break this bond, break, one of these phosphates jumps off. All of the energy that used to be in that bond, you can now use, right, to do whatever you want. Run, jump, skip, play, right? So when that happens, happens, right? A chemical change occurs, right? So you went from having ATP, 1, 2, 3. You do some work, you use up energy. You end up with an ADP, adenosine di means 2, diphosphate, with a random P just kind of floating around now. Okay, so that is how you use energy, right? This is how you stay alive. This is why you die if you don't have oxygen, or if you starve for a really long time. Right? You die because you're no longer making enough ATP, so you can no longer do all those important things, like have a beating heart, right, to keep you alive. Okay? So, that is the story of ATP and ADP. You need to make lots of ATP to keep you alive. Okay? That is the story of cellular respiration. Okay? Let me pick up my eraser that I dropped. Surprise! Okay, so the last thing that these funny people who write this test want you to know is, how is this similar to burning carbon-containing fuels like gasoline, like oil, like a candle? Okay, you guys have the benefit of actually having learned about combustion reactions, so you know, right, combustion, let me draw some flames. Ooh, very exciting, combustion. Whee! Okay, combustion, right, is burning. When you burn a carbon-containing fuel, you need, right, a carbon-containing fuel, carbon-based fuel. Let me use like gas as an example. You need carbon-containing fuel, you need oxygen gas, and you produce, right, water. In this case, you're creating light energy and heat energy, and you're also creating some carbon dioxide, okay? So hold that thought. Let me see if I can find a candle to burn, or a piece of paper to burn. Okay, I am back. So, inside this lighter I have butane. Let me remember my OChem. Butane has a formula of C4H10. Butane? I could be crazy. I could be wrong. Butane. Right? But let's pretend it has C4H10. So this would be my carbon-based fuel. When I flip the switch, it ignites the carbon gasoline. Can you see that? Ooh, very exciting fire. Okay? So when I am burning this, I am undergoing combustion. I need to create carbon dioxide and water. Right? So the water you can see, I don't know if you can see, right? But I can see that the glass fogs up with condensed water vapor inside. Ooh, very exciting, very fun. Right? On the flip side, it needs oxygen. So if I take this piece of paper, this is very unsafe. I feel like I should not be doing this right now. I have this piece of paper and I want to burn it on a safe surface. I don't know if I can do this safely. Hold on. Okay, so I might melt the lid on this jar. Don't tell anyone it was me. Actually, now you have video evidence that it was me. But tell them it was an accident. It was for the sake of science, right? Okay, so let me light this on fire. I'm going to show you why it needs oxygen to keep burning. So this is a carbon-containing piece of paper. This paper is made mostly of carbon. All right, now I have it on fire, and now I need to drop it inside here. I'm really silly. It went out. Very smoky. Let me try this again. All right, so it's on fire. It will stay on fire, but only for as long as there's oxygen. Man, this is not a very good demonstration. I should just edit all of this out until I can do it correctly for you guys. Can't even get it on fire now. Come on. Burn! Burn. All right, it's burning. Let me seal it all up. All right, it already went out because there was no oxygen in there. I wonder if you can see all of the water vapor that's in there condensing. There's all these droplets of water in there. Okay, so enough about burning things. All right, my classroom smells terrible now. Okay, so what these funny people who write this test want you to be able to do is compare and contrast, right, this chemical reaction called photosynthesis with the chemical reaction that happens when I burn things that contain carbon. Right? So remember, if I write this as a chemical reaction, butane, C4H10 plus oxygen leads to carbon dioxide and water and light/heat energy. You need to be able to compare and contrast these two equations. Right? If I were not so lazy, I would probably try really hard to balance this. 4, 2, 5, 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 divided by 2 is equal to 6.5. So I should just keep this is a pain in the butt. All right. Right there. Now, this should be balanced. Gosh, it looks awful. Anyways, you get the gist, right? You should be able to compare and contrast, right? How was combustion, right, burning of this carbon-containing fuel, similar or different from cellular respiration, oxygen, carbon, glucose, water, carbon dioxide, and ATP, all right? What they're going to want you to conclude, right, is that, they're very similar. The funny thing is, they're actually chemically very similar things. It's almost like you are burning food inside your body in a controlled, step-by-step way. Obviously, if it were not controlled, we would all spontaneously combust, which might be very exciting, but also very painful. All right, so you should be able to compare and contrast cellular respiration and combustion. All right. Now, if you have any questions for me, you need to email me at mark@seattleschools.org. Do not leave me a post in the comments. Do not email me at my YouTube account. I just created that yesterday, so I'm not in the habit of checking it. You guys can talk to each other in the comments, but I will not be checking those regularly, okay? You email me here if you have any questions. If you're taking an algebra or geometry EOC, good luck tomorrow. Get lots of sleep tonight. I will see you guys periods 1, 3, and 5, bright and early at 12 o'clock. All right? Thank you so much. Have a nice day.